Ready for action.
We good to go? Perfect. John motherfucking Davis.
How you doing?
Thank you for being here and doing this. Yes, sir. Man, I appreciate you joining, bro. Is this your first podcast?
I've done a few. This is good though. Like, this was perfect timing. You know how people usually go on like a promo run to promote their music,
Yeah.
stuff like that, whatever big projects they have. I just did like a little online interview with the magazine days ago. We talked about, we've been planning this.
Yeah.
I'm excited, man. It's pretty dope.
Awesome,
Perfect
bro.
timing.
The ones you were on, was it kind of like focused on fashion or is it more of a general pod?
General pod. I actually have a friend who has like a more fashion based podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Just times never find. I'll be in Houston. I'll be in LA for a weekend and don't catch up often.
Yeah. But I think general pods, the format is great because you could touch all those topics.
Definitely, and I feel like I have a lot to say about a lot of different things.
Yeah.
I'm a Gemini.
You're an outspoken person, for sure.
I'm pretty outspoken, so.
Yes, sir. But I really am curious about the brand, bro, because you and I talked about this already. Like, starting a brand was something I was even interested in at one point, kind of exploring that option or seeing if that's something that's for me.
Yeah.
So, like, how did you get started with being here doing this? Like, where did the name come from first? I'm curious about the name.
Well, the name comes from same kind of background. Me and my friend Jamal, Jamal and Xavier had a little group in high school, like Big Hoop Dreams, right? BHD on our shoes. Like, I already had that stuff on my shoes, so I was like, I want to keep.
What is? His is going in and out?
Maybe I'll bring it a little closer.
Put it right there.
Can you hear me better?
Go to his. Actually, yeah, just speak up a little bit more, and
I
then
got
it should go in. Okay.
We used to write that stuff on our shoes. It was just like kind of an ideology we already had.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, man, I want to make a play on this. I want to keep this going. I kind of like the words. I kind of like the lettering. Let me try and build my brand around it, right? So I had been talking to my dad about starting a clothing brand for a long time.
Yeah.
I was going through depression playing college basketball. Went to a JUCO instead of like a big 4-year university.
Yeah.
My dad thought that would be a better route for me. The coaches like kind of sold me a dream, telling me like, oh, you'll come here. All you need is 1 year. Put you on a D1. Like, we'll get you a D1 scholarship. Like, you're a D1 player already.
Mm-hmm.
Sold me this dream. Then I got there and they had seniors and guys who they were trying to push more than me because they had been there.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, that whole process, California JUCO basketball is like, it's different than JUCO basketball in the rest of the country.
I mean, it's a huge scene though, isn't it? Isn't JUCO basketball? I feel like all sports in Cali are big. I mean, it's basketball, football.
JUCO basketball in California, because in like a state like Michigan, right? There may be like 20 JUCOs. In California, there's 20 JUCOs in Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like there's so many schools. It's basically high school, just at a higher level.
Mm-hmm. So the competition is more fierce. Everyone's trying to get to that D1 level.
And you can be a 18-year-old. I graduated high school when I was 17.
Mm-hmm.
So you can be like a 17-year-old playing against someone who's 28.
Mm-hmm.
Like a man, a grown-ass man with kids. You just got out of high school.
Is that the thing? Because I've always been curious about that, right? Because that's college in a nutshell. College has people of all ages.
Right.
Like, it doesn't matter if it's a university or a JUCO. You have grown-ass adults who are 50, 60 who want to go back and get a degree, or 30, 40, and then you have people who are coming fresh out of high school. With athletics, I was always curious, like, what's the limit? Is there an age limit? Because I would think, you know.
Do have eligibility.
Uh-huh.
So once your eligibility runs out, I'm not exactly sure on how that process works, but once your eligibility runs out, you can't play basketball anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were in school for, or you start like a clock pretty much. So I played junior college basketball, so my clock was started off. I had a few like expiration date pretty much.
Yeah. What was your position in basketball? I'm curious.
Kind of like a combo guard. Like, I could play point guard because I'm at that size and that skill set.
Mm-hmm.
But I like to score. I want to be a scoring
yeah.
guard. Because everybody wants to score.
Absolutely, bro. That's the best feeling in the world when you make a basket or when you dunk. Can you dunk?
I can dunk.
You can?
I can dunk.
Damn.
I've never won my high school dunk contest, but I was in it every year since I was a sophomore.
That's crazy. You had bunnies like that since sophomore year?
I dunked as a freshman in high school.
Did you like train to get there? Because I've been wanting to, like, I can dunk, but it's not consistent. It's like
I trained my whole life to dunk.
so you like did the workouts, you did the bunny jumps, all that stuff.
4th grade, my dad can dunk. My dad can do any dunk just about. So watching my dad play basketball, I wanted to play basketball like my dad, of course. So him knowing that I wanted to dunk, him dunking at 13 or 14 inspired me to do the same things. Since like 3rd grade, I was like 9 years old in 3rd grade. I started doing the workouts to get to that point.
That's crazy.
And then I also grew up in the hood.
Yeah.
So like there was kids in 5th grade, 6th grade who were like 6 foot dunking.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So it was different. There was kids dunking in my middle school.
Yeah. Did he like train you? Because I know some like when dads are athletes and then their sons kind of follow in the footsteps, they're pretty hands on with the process. Some of them even, I mean, if we look at boxing, we see it all the time. Like dads are coaches.
Yeah, my dad trained me pretty much all throughout my entire life up until last year of high school. And then even still, we did like workouts. Towards the end of my season, he started working a little bit more. He stopped working out as much, but he trained me taught me pretty much everything.
That's awesome, bro. I wish I had that. My dad was never into sports. So like any sport activity or anything trying to explore that avenue was always my endeavor. I was always the one trying to push that. And my dad was just like, I don't give a damn. Like, do what you want. Like, you know, play basketball if you want to or play football if you want to.
It's funny because my grandpa was the same way with my dad, pretty much. They didn't really care about sport. My grandpa was like hard nosed, work hard, blue collar, go to work 5 a.m., come home at sleep it off type job. So there was never like a sports thing. Like sports was only big because my dad played sports.
Well, it's got to start somewhere along the line. So for you, it was your dad. For me, it was me. But I didn't go nowhere with it. I didn't get to JUCO or anything like that. So you definitely beat me out there. But so when did you? So you were in JUCO when you decided like I'm gonna start BHDT, or was that in high school?
I was in JUCO and I was like severely depressed. Like.
Was it just because of the playing situation, or was it
it was the playing situation, and then also like my best friend was at Kentucky, which is the best basketball school in the country, in the world. I'm like, he's at Kentucky.
I think Duke would argue with you on that.
Probably, but when it comes to guys going to the NBA, that's where you go to the NBA.
Kentucky's number one.
Yeah, they have the most basketball players, and since I've been alive, they've had the most players go to the NBA. And the most first round draft picks. So, my best friend being there and hearing all his stories and just wanting that same experience for myself. Yeah. Also, my graduation class, we had a 99% graduation rate, and like 75 or 80% of them went off to big university.
99%?
98% graduation. So, and we had a graduation class of like 1,100. So most of the kids graduated. Most of them went to 4-year universities. I'm at a junior college and I feel kind of like a failure. You know, I'm comparing myself to everyone. Yeah. Looking at myself and like my past mistakes, and that's depressing. And I'm super anxious about my future. I just sat down and I heard I did like a lot of research and like trying to discover myself pretty much. I heard someone say depression comes from worrying about the past, and anxiety comes from the pressures of worrying about the future. I sat down and I'm like, man, I have to focus. Like, I'll only be happy if I worry about right now. If I go outside and I'm like, guys, like beautiful right now, that's when you feel genuine happiness, genuine peace, right? So I said, there's no better time than to be here and like do this, to like being here in this moment, doing this, like living this life pretty. So then from that moment forward, I was like, I'm going to start this clothing brand. It's going to be about that. It's going to be about like the appreciation of right now, the appreciation of time, and just embracing right now pretty.
Did you always know you were gonna do clothing, or was it just something in that moment? You're like,
actually,
did you see that was like, okay, clothing's where I'm gonna start?
So many people talk about how I was not fashionable. Like, I used to try really hard. Like, I have
the tucked in polo with the belt. And
I tried
Crocs.
Everything. I still wear bright colors to this day, but like I used to wear like neon green shirt, neon green socks, like black short. Like I used to wear some crazy stuff. Yeah. But now I'm a little bit more fashionable. I think it started off with shoes. So of course, being a basketball player, the sneaker culture is like huge. Everyone wants to wear like nice shoes. Sneakers stem from basketball. Yep. So with that being said, like I've always like had this enthusiasm about shoes, and I started to get curious about like who designed these shoes, who made these shoes, why is this shoe cool and why is this shoe not cool. learning about the technology and like what Nike did and how they advanced, starting with Michael Jordan and Tinker Hatfield. And now we have like Virgil. So learning about like the Air Max and different technology and that stuff, I got really curious about that, and I wanted to design a shoe for myself. And
so you started with sneakers first.
Well, the idea started with and then I kind of like looked at all of the shoe designers at the time. So we had Jerry Lorenzo, who had his he had 2 shoes, I believe. Virgil came out with some shoes. There's a few other designers at the time, but they all were clothing brand designers. And I realized that if I want to start with shoes, I probably should start with clothing and work back to it.
Is that how they started? Because I feel like some of them, like the names you mentioned, like Jordan, for example, he started with shoes and then branded out into apparel. But you like you said, this basketball culture, and he was playing basketball.
When I looked at the guys who are the best at it at that time, so even designers for like I believe it wasn't Balenciaga, maybe like Givenchy at the time. That designer was designing shoes with Nike. So there's little stuff like that, and I just started doing my research, and I realized like I should probably start in
apparel.
Clothing, apparel industry.
That's badass, man. But with that, like Givenchy, for example, I don't know about them too well, but Louis or Birkin, they all started with bags, right? They started with bags. Yeah. Is that what Givenchy did too? Because I see a lot of that with the fashion, that the moguls that dominate the industry right now, they all started with bags, or a lot of them did. I don't know if all of them did.
Well, Louis Vuitton started with like trunks for kings and queens long, thousands of years ago, like 1600s, like that. Yeah. Well before my time. And the fashion industry, fashion history is so deep that I haven't even got to looking up other. I'm still looking at how Louis Vuitton became Louis, how Gucci became Gucci. I just watched the Gucci movie, and learning about the Gucci family was crazy. But I've always kind of like liked luxury things. Like my favorite car, like when I was 2 years old, one of the first big words I said was Lamborghini. I've always wanted a Lamborghini car, so
I know your dad is proud. You heard that? He's like, my boy's gonna be rich.
He's gonna be rich. You know what I mean? So I started looking up those stories, and like the stories of like very wealthy businessmen like John D. Rockefeller. He has the same initials as me to an extent. So I looked up to those guys. I'm just now starting to do my history, like look into fashion history. I don't know too much about Givenchy, but starting with bags and stuff, working with that leather, I know that they designed these pieces for the kings and queens, and then they started to say like, oh, I want something I want my clothing to match my trunks pretty much.
Carry that same brand or that same vision.
Exactly. That's kind of where.
What's awesome though is that, like you said, how you mentioned you had the neon colors when you were younger and people were clowning you for it. Yeah. And what I've seen from the shop, like I checked the website out in the store, and I was kind of just seeing what gear you had available. But you brought that with you. I mean, a lot of your clothes are bright colored. You have like a range. You have the kind of comfort colors that are more subtle, but then you also brought that neon with you into your brand. I mean, the clothes you're wearing right now, like the red pants, those are the flannels, right? Or
yeah,
what do they call it at the end?
Flared pants.
Flared pants, that's right.
Some people call them stacked. People call them all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
I just think they look good.
Yeah, but I'm glad you brought that with you, because that shows that you still kept, you, even in your brand, like you brought that along with you.
I feel like what makes the world is colors. And when you look at a map, you expect to see blue and green. That's how you know you're on Earth, right? When you walk outside and if you bring a girl a black and white picture, that's cool. But if you bring her a red rose, that makes her feel love, right? So these different colors bring up different feelings for different people, and like that's what you need to appreciate things. If I wear these red pants, it might bring something. It might remind you of something that will make you appreciate this. You'll look and you'll say, "Oh, I appreciate those red pants. I appreciate the color red. I appreciate whatever red makes you feel."
Yeah.
But then, of course, everyone goes through different feelings and different phases. Sometimes you just want to wear all black.
Yeah, I don't know if that reminds me of something. I don't know if you've read this book. I believe it's called 90 Minutes in Heaven. I don't know if you're like a spiritual person at all or like religious at all, but it was about this guy who died. He was dead, pronounced dead on the table. This is a real story. Yeah. Was pronounced dead on the table and was dead at the hospital for 90 full minutes, so an hour and a half. And he wrote a book, but he came back to life after 90 minutes. It was crazy. Like his heartbeat came back, the monitor started beeping, and he came back to life, and he was alive until I don't know if he's still alive or not. But in that 90 minutes, he said he went to heaven. Now, it's up, of course, skeptics are gonna be like, is that real or not? Whatever. It's up to the reader if they want to believe it or not. But what he said was what stood out to him most was the colors. He said the colors in heaven was colors he'd never seen before. Like he didn't have a name for them when he came back to the earth. He couldn't describe them with a word or like a color he knew. And he was like, man, the colors that I saw in heaven were out of this world. Like I've never seen something like that. And that's what stood out to him so much, was just the vividness and the brilliance and the colors he's never seen before.
Wow.
So when you talk about colors, that made me think of that, because I'm like, man, I want to see what heaven's colors are like based on what this guy's talking about. But yeah, you're right. I mean, red has so many different meanings to it, right? Like red can symbolize passion, or for some people, fury. Like when people get in a fight and they get super angry, what do they say? They say, I saw red,
yeah.
And I just went crazy. Like that's happened to me before. When I was talking about Arizona, I just saw red, like the boom, started just, throwing haymakers. But that's interesting, man. That shows you have like a deeper kind of understanding of the industry, more than just like, I want to make clothes for money. Like,
definitely.
I have something that's driving me.
It's crazy. So there's so many things that went into me making clothing, because one, my parents didn't give me money for clothing. They give me money to do things. If I was going to a sporting event or some kind of event, right? Or going to do something, they gave me money out of kind of necessity.
Yeah.
To a degree. Very spoiled kid. I got all the video games. They bought me everything, but they just actually give me money. And they never bought me like really expensive things, really expensive clothing. The things that they saw value in, they spent money on, but the things that they didn't see value in, they didn't spend. So when I started to like nice shoes, that became a thing with my dad. Like, man, I'm spending a lot of money on these shoes. Like, at some point, you're gonna have to start doing this for yourself. And I realized, like, okay, I need to figure out how to make money, right? So I started making clothes so I could make money to buy shoes, to buy nicer clothes.
When was this? Like in college, or was this like early on?
Yeah, this was college when I started the brand, pretty much. Well, I started a job right after my basketball season ended my senior year. So, and I did that so I could buy shoes, so I could, still fund myself pretty much. But another reason I started my clothing brand was to like kind of be creative and express my thoughts. So I'm a Gemini. A lot of colors, a lot of things that I do with my brand, you'll see that there's two colors. I never usually do anything with just one color. Geminis are supposedly two-faced or double personalities, right? All of these different things. But I feel like there's a bad connotation with Gemini. So I express that feeling and those emotions and kind of the my journey with understanding of Gemini's thought process through my clothing as well. So I tend to use two colors, or using the same color, like a monotone pattern. So it'll be red, but it'll be two different shades of red. Because humans are, you're not the same person you are when you're happy and when you're sad. Yeah. Or when you're angry and when you're scared. Or
that's true. I've heard people say like you were like a completely different person when you were angry, or when you were that day or whatever.
So some people tend to I look at Geminis as extremists, right? So you can look at someone who is very happy, and then in a split second, when they're very upset, they're a totally different person because they went from one end of the spectrum to the other. So you can look at a person as Kanye West, who is
perfect example,
who is
he's a Gemini too, huh?
Of a Gemini. His birthday is, I believe, 2 days before mine. He's a person who can make great music and be a talented artist. Then he can go off the rails and have crazy opinions about something else. But it's just because his thought process and where his emotions took him. It just took him from one extreme to the other extreme. Same thing with Tupac, right? Tupac is a great poet who is a great who's looked at to be intellectual. But then you perceive yourself as a gangster rapper. It's like those are two different extremes, two different levels. Same thing with Kendrick Lamar. Same thing with JFK, right? JFK was supposed to be like America's president, right? great guy, happy guy, smiling guy, but who knows what he was doing behind closed doors? You know, the presidents are always
our government got him killed, so who knows?
exactly.
That whole story's
so
insane.
Donald Trump, a few years ago, before he ran for president, rap culture loved him, black people loved him.
Yep.
Everyone loved Donald Trump.
And then
had a TV show. Now he's the president with these same ideologies, but now he's in a different position, so he has to go from one extreme to the other. Now he's a terrible person.
Dude, that's interesting you say that. Do you think he changed, or do you think the fact that he ran for president is what changed people's opinions on him?
I think that's what. There will never be a president that people love. It's impossible.
Yeah, well, I think tying into what you said, I mean, you have to be polarizing, I think, to be not, I guess, famous, yeah, to be famous, because people have to be interested in you. If you're not drawing people's attention, then people aren't going to be interested to hear what you have to say. And to do that, you have to be polarizing. I mean, controversy sells, so saying outlandish things, whether you mean it or not, is going to get you attention in this world.
I took AP government, right, in high school, and it talks about how the political process is, how to run for president. So you have the primaries, right? So the primaries is when they pick the candidate who's going to run for the parties. The parties are polar opposites, right? So to win your primary, you have to go as far away from this other, from the middle and from the other party as possible. So you have to go to the extreme. So you have to win over, say anything that you can to win over the other party, right? And then when the primaries are over and you've won your primaries, what do you start to do? You start to come closer to the middle so you can win over the rest of the country, right? He just stayed true to himself. He said, this is who I am. I don't care. He said things that Republicans didn't like. He also said things that Democrats didn't like.
Yeah.
He was just himself.
Exactly.
And whatever mood he woke up in the morning, that's who he was that day.
Yeah, for me, honestly, that was refreshing to see, just because it was so different from a typical president. Yeah. And not just presidents, politicians in general are very fake. You know, they say what they need to say on camera and what you want to hear, what most people, not even what everyone wants to hear, but what most people they think wants to hear is what they're going to say on camera, because that's what's going to get them ratings. That's what's going to keep them kind of in your mind a good person or a good president or the president that we want. Right. But Trump was just like, I'm me. You either like me or you don't. And it was such a change. I mean, it was so drastic. That's why the reaction that we saw from not just Americans, but the world was crazy, because he's like, I'm going to wear my heart on the sleeve. You can like it or you don't. Especially you, Rosie O'Donnell. You can like it or you don't. But and he encouraged the rest of America to be who they truly are. Now, whether if you're a racist or if you stand up for political rights, it encouraged you to be who you were. So I appreciated that aspect of it, and I'm a business owner. I definitely appreciate it. Your pockets were happy when he was in office. I made the most money. To a degree, I made some pretty good money. That was the first year that I made big money. Yeah, with him being the president. But so with the COVID situation, I'm guessing supply chain was your biggest issue, right? I mean, when I was working in corporate, supply chain was the worst thing for me, because I was doing procurement, so I was negotiating contracts, I was negotiating deals. We were the customer. We were buying from different providers or different manufacturers, and my numbers and my targets were bombing. Like, it was so bad. I was trying to find on delivery or on timing delivery, was struggling with that. Prices were going up. I mean, all my savings that I had generated in the first few months when I joined the company, gone. Everything got slashed. So I'm assuming that was the biggest thing that you had to deal with when it came to your clothing, right? No, I made so much money during COVID. Really? That's what propelled me to be like who I am now. Yeah. Like, I made a lot of money. That was like the first year I made big money. How did you take advantage of the situation? Like, what did you Americans do? Had so much money in hand. Pandemic, PPP loans, COVID relief fund. People were just, the average American was just given so much money to stimulate our economy, and all they did was buy the things they wanted. They didn't use it to change their financial situations. But you didn't, like, I get the demand part of it, but as a supplier, like, you didn't have issues with your delivery or anything like that? Like, everything was still running pretty... COVID was so bad in China that they shut the country down, right? And they were so strict on their laws that there was maybe one more or two more outbreaks. All the big outbreaks were in America.
those foreign countries were perfectly fine after the one big outbreak, and they cured everything down and got everyone vaccinated or whatever they had to do. They're strict about their policies and got back to business. Mm-hmm. So my overseas manufacturing, because I do both. So my overseas manufacturing, everything's finished in LA. Mm-hmm. Just have to a disclaimer. When I say things are produced in LA, everything's finished in LA. Mm-hmm. But my overseas manufacturing, sometimes if everything is on me pretty much. If there was a delay, it was my fault. It was never a problem with them.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. Do you use like Alibaba or different platforms like that to connect with them, or do you have like direct contacts where you like call them, talk to them?
I have a really good relationship with them now, so it's direct. But I found my manufacturer through Alibaba.
Okay.
But I've been working with them for a few years, and after about the second year, communication got really good, and our expectations got on the same level, to the same, aligned pretty much.
So how did you transition from that? Because that's what I'd rather do, right? When I was looking at starting a business, and my first thing was looking at clothing or apparel, some kind of apparel, I was going to look at Alibaba, find a supplier or find a decent supplier and kind of start that relationship there, because I did some research, and a lot of people online and a lot of manufacturers or designers were saying this is how they got started. How did you transition from that? Because I'd rather start with someone direct, because then it leaves more room for negotiation. You can, have more conversations. You can share visions, things like that with the manufacturer. Did they reach out to you, or you reached out to them? How did that kind of start?
I reached out to them. Usually if someone reaches out to you, they want to sell you something. You reach out to someone else, you're looking for a good service. Mm-hmm. So I produce clothing for about 5 to 7 brands right now.
Okay.
Aside from myself. Mm-hmm. You need some help, man. Definitely be able to.
Awesome, man. That's cool. So it's like there's multifaceted aspect to your business. So you're kind of doing branding for other companies as well, like you're creating their clothes for them and stuff like that.
So pretty much with any business, right? I'm a small business, just like every other small business. There's ups and downs. You have good months, good weeks, good days. You have bad months, bad weeks, bad days, bad seasons. You have to do whatever it takes. Your business is your baby. Mm. As a parent, never let your baby starve, right? You have to do whatever you have to, work 2 jobs, whatever you have to do to keep your baby alive. Mm-hmm. So in the beginning of my clothing brand, I worked a job. I stopped playing basketball and I worked a job so I could fund my clothing. Then I worked 2 jobs so I could keep the money of the clothing brand into the business and still grow my life pretty much. Then once my brand was able to make enough money, I just had to do little hustles here and there. Whether it was go help out with another clothing brand, go help out at a club, go help out with a friend who's a DJ, go print shirts for someone else. Whatever I had to do, you develop this hustle and makes you that allows you to keep your baby alive pretty much. So in the midst of that, you build other streams of income that you can rely on to help you out when your business isn't doing.
Yeah, that's the mindset of every good hustler. I mean, that word too, hustle, has positive and negative connotations to it, but I always look at it positively, because if you're willing to put in the work to get to where you need to get to, like you said, you took on 2 jobs to be able to fund the business. That's the sign of a good entrepreneur, because you're not going to kind of sit back and hope that your business is going to succeed. There's going to be bad days and good days, so you have to have something else to kind of compensate for those situations.
Definitely.
And what you did that's good, and I see this all the time with brands in general, is you had people who have fan bases or have followings who endorse your stuff. I mean, you have to have that in today's day and age. Having that is so crucial.
Definitely. And I'm by no means am I the best at it. I just kind of lucked up that I had cool friends, pretty much. Cool friends who had other cool friends. Mm-hmm. I didn't really do anything but be myself. Mm-hmm. I think I'm a pretty likable person. I'm very relatable, partially because I'm a Gemini. Gemini go from one end of the spectrum to the other. Yeah. That they kind of understand all of those feelings in between. So I can have a conversation with anyone and kind of understand thought process or why they feel the way they feel about something. Mm-hmm. And that tends to make people feel comfortable. That builds these relationships. And I'm a pretty knowledgeable person about a lot of different things.
Yeah, it sounds like you did your research before you got started into fashion. You looked up all these companies, you looked up the different things that you wanted to do. You had your vision, how to incorporate it. So yeah, you seem like you kind of checked all the bases before you got started.
But even just with like regular everyday stuff, like I grew up as a kid not watching like I watched cartoons, but at the same time, like if you just came in the house at 4:00, came in the living room, I'm probably watching Animal Planet.
Mm-hmm.
Like I probably just got done watching SpongeBob, but I was probably watching Animal Planet, like the History Channel, learning about like how America was made, stuff like that. So National Geographic. So like I can tell you like what's popular in Nevada, what's popular in Texas, what's popular in Massachusetts. Like those guys are big sports guys. Texas, they care about gun rights. Like I don't know. I just know so much useless information that I thought was useless, but then I have a conversation with a total stranger and it becomes useful. It builds a relationship.
That's so important because I recently started doing that. I think, unfortunately, growing up as a kid, I was distracted with all these forms of entertainment that really have no benefit to you. Like it's not really going to grow your knowledge or your understanding of the world. So I started doing that recently. Instead of watching a TV show or a movie on Netflix, I'll look up the documentaries or something that I'm going to learn something about. It may not even be a field I'm interested in. It's just something that has factual information, history, that's going to teach me something about real world things. Because I feel like the problem with entertainment is, sure, it makes you feel good in the moment, but there's no long-term benefit to it unless you're exploring that field. Like say you want to be a cartoon creator or something like that. Yeah. You should watch cartoons, see how they do it, it right. Get some game from watching it, then you can transition it to your endeavor. But most people don't have a vision when they're, soaking up this entertainment. And I think about that a lot just because we're not getting any younger. And so recently I kind of wanted to start exploring creating my own business, especially after meeting people like you and other entrepreneurs that I've met who kind of have their own gig going on. They work for themselves. And all of them don't really watch TV. They don't really watch movies. They don't really watch TV. They don't really waste time. If I'm with them, a lot of them are on their phones when I'm with them, and they're not texting or like scrolling Instagram. They're talking about a move, or they're playing something out like an opportunity or something like that that's going to grow their business.
I just argued for 3% interest like all morning. That's why I was running late. I'm arguing about 3%.
That 3% is going to change a lot though.
It's $146.
I mean, long term, it'll go.
It was a tough battle this morning for me to lose the $146 at the end. I lost today. It's okay.
Haven't you heard the saying, how the rich stay rich? It's because they save their money and they look for every opportunity to save their money. Do you budget? Like, do you keep track of every single dollar you spend?
I do. I'm one of those guys who's like checking their accounts every day. I'm 23 years old and I'm like so important. I'll go broke to make sure my credit stays good. Like that's me every day. I hustle for my credit. Like the brand is like cool. I love it. That's my creative side, but at the same time, like I'm a businessman. Like I look at myself more than a creative. So.
Have you always been like that? Because that's a struggle for me. Being able to do the things I know I need to do, like budgeting, for example. It's easy to get distracted. It's easy to do it for like 4 days and then you stop, and then you stop tracking it, and then you miss some days, or you do it for a full month. Like I did it for a full month, I think in December or November, and I watched everything. I tracked every purchase from a McChicken at McDonald's to a section at a club. Everything was tracked, everything was documented, and I had a lot more control and knowledge of where my dollar was going. But it's hard to stay consistent with that. So is that something you had? Because I think people watching this probably have that same problem. Like I don't know many people who are able to do that consistently. So did you cultivate that, or you just knew like from the beginning, like, look, this is something I need to do. I'm going to start doing this and I'm going to keep it going?
My grandfather and my dad definitely instilled it in me in different ways and different stories and a lot. But once like I said, my parents never gave me a lot of money. So I used to go to school with $0 and 0 cents in my pocket. Right? I had free lunch. I had to eat after school. Like I had to go home. You know what I mean? Like, or a friend would like spot me. So once I started making money, I'm never gonna be broke again. My first check, I remember exactly how much money I made. I made $187 from Blaze Pizza. Right? I have heard stories where people say, "Oh, put away 10% of your income." I was 17 years old. I was 16. Yeah, I was 17 years old. I had no responsibilities. I put away 90% of my check in my savings, and I would spend 10%.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's good. Yeah.
So like that's where my mindset was. It was like put away as much money as you can so you can do the fun things that you want to do. Like eat Wendy's every day so you can do the things that you want to do. You know, like budget your money the right way, right? That's kind of like where it kind of started, and then I got into investing, different things like that, and just now I'm starting to use the information of, okay, like I remember in second grade, my dad made me Wikipedia Warren Buffett. Now that I'm 23, that stuff is starting to come back to play. Now I'm starting to remember, oh, okay, now I remember why my dad said look up Carlos Slim Hulu, right? But now no one knows who Carlos Slim Hulu is.
I don't even know who that is.
But when I was in third grade, he was the third richest man in the world. We knew Warren Buffett and Bill Gates, but no one knew Carlos Slim Hulu. So when I go and talk to I'm how old are you in second grade? 8 years
probably.
old, and I talk to a 30-year-old man, and I'm like, oh, you know Carlos Slim Hulu? He's like, damn, like this little kid knows something. Like all that stuff is coming back to play a role in it, and now I'm learning investing and money management. And it's a big saying that if you can't manage $100, are you going to manage $1 million? So I just took those things personal. I took a lot of pride in those things.
That's good, man. That's very unique, honestly. I personally don't know a lot of people in my life like that started at least at a young age to do that. So,
and by the way, I do fuck up some money.
Yeah.
Like I go to the club. I eat out a lot. I buy shoes. I had a friend when I was working at Nike. He was a little older than me, and he was like, "Bro, just buy the shoes. Like, you'll make the money back. Like, the money's gonna come back around." So instead of me looking at it as,
I need it.
No, not even necessarily I need it. More so just like go get it. I used to look up to my friends because I've always hung out with guys older than me, and I would see these guys wearing like all like Bape, Subi back before like that was popular, all kinds of different shoes, like all the like old vintage Jordans that were costing like $300-400 at the time. And I'm looking at these guys, and I'm like, damn, like how are they affording this stuff? And for granted, like I definitely didn't know what they had in their savings or how they were getting this money, but I knew how I was getting the money, and I knew that I couldn't afford those things, so I worked harder so I could still save money, put money away, and buy those shoes. And like then I looked at it like now, and I'm like, I was making more money than those guys like back then, just because I had the hustle and the hunger for it. So even now today, like I'm trying to plan my first trip to go out of the country. I'm working right now.
You never left the country?
Yeah, I've never been out of the country.
Damn, man, congratulations. It's going to be an experience for you. I'll tell you that. Definitely. You're going to be shocked.
I'm excited. But right now I'm working my ass off so I can still, pay all my bills and save money and afford the trip. Not to go into my savings to pay for the trip. Yeah. I want to save money and pay for the trip. So,
well, I'm sure a lot of the people that you just mentioned, because this is, I think, is true for just most people in general, unfortunately, is people will go broke trying to play the part rather than, like, for your example, hustling harder or saving the money and just not, playing the part until you can actually afford to play the part.
It's also me not knowing any better. Yeah. There's a lot of ignorance in that. Yeah. I just didn't realize that people were faking it to make it.
The real thing, bro. I think that's the real pandemic to me, is like people who care too much about what other people think. So you're going to do something to go out of your way to hurt yourself and your life and your pocket to be able to represent something that you're not. Everyone wants to, not everyone, but majority of people want to be someone who they've seen on TV or they've seen on their Instagram. And so they're going to fuck up their life trying to portray that, when you should. For me, my strategy is save right now. I still spend, I still have fun. And so the saving part isn't, it's going at a slow rate right now. But the strategy for me is save. And then once I have a large amount of capital, I'm going to invest in another home or something like that. I like real estate because I think that's a very safe market. And I feel like you can make a lot of money. You can also lose a lot of money, but you can have way more control rather than like investing in stocks or something like that.
There's more millionaires in real estate than anything.
Yep. It's the number one investing business, right? Everyone's doing it. Even the celebrities that we know, they all have a portfolio. They just don't talk about it. They talk about their albums or they talk about their movies or whatever. Right. They all have a portfolio of properties that they're maintaining and managing.
The good one.
The good ones, yeah. There's some that when they retire, they're broke because they spend all their money.
All that jewelry's going back.
Yep, exactly.
For 1/10 of what it really.
Yeah. So that's good, man. I mean, but I feel like just looking from the outside in, because I wasn't like that, right? So I was like most people that you described, where I wasn't like playing the part, but I wasn't um, exposing myself to information. I wasn't exposing myself to knowledge, learning, getting better, getting smarter. I was, watching games. I was watching movies, TVs, playing video games, hanging out with people, not really growing myself. So I feel like if it was me, I would have felt lonely at some points, because you'd look around the people around you and be like, no one's on my wave. No one's in the same place that I'm at or trying to achieve the same things I'm achieving. So like, did it ever get hard? Because I feel like I would have looked around if I was like you and pursuing these things and keeping up with the things that I should have kept up with, like Warren Buffett, for example, or the rich people in America, or the people who are successful.
Well, I bounced around a lot growing up. I lived in California. I was born in Michigan. I lived there for a few years. Then I lived in California. I moved back to Michigan for a while. I moved to West Texas for a while. Then I moved back to California. Then I moved to a different place in California. I bounced around so much, and I didn't really have friends that lived close to me. It was always a lot of time where it just spent me, older family members, older relatives, different things like that. When I was around people, they were older people, so I had to not be a kid. I had to be more mature. My conversations had to be mature. So it definitely was lonely, but that's how I coped.
Yeah.
If I can talk to an older person, that'll be more productive. And then I actually like enjoyed learning, because most people, we all tend to enjoy learning pretty much, right?
Some of us, yeah.
Right. It's just the things that we like to learn.
Exactly. Yeah, that's true.
So, and not even the things that we like to learn, because you would like to learn. I'm sure you'd like to learn about makeup, right? You would.
Not at all.
For sure. Because when I have a conversation with a girl, we could go to a bar, and I can talk to a girl and I say, "Oh, I love your eyeshadow. Is that Fenty? What kind of highlight did you use?" Right? And you see how interested she is in my conversation, how she wants to talk to me. Like, I need to learn about makeup, but it's how you learn about makeup. So I had to learn about makeup because my dad was a photographer, my cousin was a photographer. I hung out with models at a very young age. So, and I watched,
lucky bastard,
right? And I watched makeup artists do makeup on girls, and then I started a clothing brand. I'm like, okay, I want to learn about a no makeup look, right? So the reason and the intention and how I learned about it just made me intrigued about learning. That's all. So if you tend to like to watch TV, then why not watch something that you want to learn about? And then so many people tend to have like a very small horizon, right? Very narrow-minded, very like, I enjoy the things that are going on in my life, and I don't think that there's anything else that I would like. But I like art, and my family wasn't like big on art growing up. My dad didn't care about art, but now my dad is learning about Basquiat. So now my dad talks to me about art. My dad's 40. He's 44. This is something new that he's recently learned, and now he looks forward to learning about these new things. I bought my dad a Basquiat like print. Now I'm gonna take him to a museum to learn about Basquiat. He might start to like other painters now. He might start to go do this stuff on his own. He might get into painting now. Like, just because you didn't want to paint, because in school you had to paint a sun, and paint your regular Saturday.
Yeah, you were told what to paint.
You were told what to paint. Now that you learn about an artist who just painted the things that he was going on in his life, and that you realize that art is whatever you make it. You don't have to be good at drawing to be an artist. You might want to do art now. You might want to learn about art. Yeah. So that's a big thing, is that people just have to find the things that they want to learn about, try to learn more things, and see what sticks.
I think it goes back to mindset, because people tend to look at learning as a form of work. Like, I have to learn, not I get to learn, Exactly. It's about learning changing your mindset. Yeah, it's supposed to be something you should look forward to. And it's not just learning. I mean, it's really, when you wake up in the morning, you should be like, I get to go to work today. I get to make money. I get to talk to people. But a lot of people, and it may be because we've been conditioned this way with the lie we're told about going to school, going to college, getting a job, working your ass off, coming home, and kind of living a very set normal routine lifestyle, you tend to start looking at these opportunities, is the way I look at them in life, as tasks or duties rather than things you get to actually do. Like, some people don't get to wake up and go talk to people every day. Some people don't get to wake up and get to a job every day.
Right.
Some people wake up in a country where they're being bombed consistently, so they have to stay in their home.
Yeah.
These are all privileges, but because we live in America and because we're sold a lie of, I think, of what is the right way to live your lifestyle, you start looking at these things like duties or responsibilities rather than
that goes back to appreciating the moment.
Mm-hmm.
That's what being here doing this is so big and so broad, and it relates to every single. It's crazy. That's why I kind of love my brand, and I'm still a regular person, so I get lost in this is a duty, this is a task. I'll sit down and I'll actually pay attention to it.
Mm-hmm.
I'll believe in it. I'll live my brand, bringing me back to a sense of peace. But I definitely agree. But that's what TV is really truly there for. Mm-hmm. We've evolved so far away from the reality of like the radio. The radio was created to spread news,
inform,
to inform,
be aware, keep up with the world. Yeah.
The TV was just an evolution of the radio.
Mm-hmm.
Entertainment was something that it was like a form of therapy, pretty much, for you to relax and to get away. But for you to go and learn about gladiators, to learn about boxing, to learn about basketball, to learn about different parts of the world. This basketball player came from Cameroon. You know what I mean? So different little things like that. And our minds just went so far away from receiving information, just looking at it. Entertainment. Look at Shark Week, for example. Do you watch Shark Week?
Shark Week or Shark Tank? Which one?
Shark Week. Shark Week
it.
Comes on every in July. It's for a week in July. Me and my family watch it, and we love Shark.
Is it about sharks?
It's about sharks. Okay. It's a week
I love
about
sharks, so I'm gonna definitely start watching
about sharks.
Yeah,
all different shows that teach you all different information about sharks, and it's there for entertainment, but you're learning the entire time, and it's so fun. Yeah,
I think because of dramatization, like movies have taken reality or some parts of reality, but then they extrapolate it to make it some unbelievable.
That's a crazy word. Can we, Steve? Can we pull that up? I want to see if that's a word.
Oh, it's a word. Trust.
Extrapolate.
But they take parts of reality and they make it unbelievable, or they make it unrealistic. But then that's what we get exposed to on a regular basis. So then every time we're watching TV or watching something on a TV show or something like that, it's so far from actual reality that becomes what's attractive to us, like we start liking that more than liking actual reality and actual facts and actual documentaries. Like Shark Week is not a dramatization, it's a documentary, or it's a show about real life sharks. They're explaining
slightly dramatized.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
But at the same time, you have to have a good discernment. You have to know what's fact and what's fiction, and that's with everything in life, with the presidency, with politics, with your job. You have to know what's fact and what's fiction, what's opinion and what's fact, what's real and what's fakes.
Yeah, I think discernment's lost in today's day and age too. I mean, I'm definitely guilty of it myself. Like I do things probably every day where if I really took a step back and objectively looked at what I'm doing, I should not be doing it because it's a waste of time, or it's like something that's not benefiting me. But it's just that desire to be comfortable is so ingrained in us that even subconsciously we go back to it. Like we do something that is relaxing and comfortable that isn't really benefiting us. There's a lot we could be doing that we would still enjoy but would benefit us, but we'd rather be comfortable doing something that we've ingrained in us. Like, okay, I'm gonna just sit back and watch this Netflix show for like 3 hours. I'm gonna watch this movie and then watch another movie after that, or I'm gonna chill, play some video games. Like, yes sir, extrapolate.
I'm blind. Can you read the definition?
I can't recall where I learned it, but extrapolate is to infer or estimate by extending or projecting known information.
Good enough for me, because you did make the same gesture.
Hand movements that went with it, so that makes it real.
It makes it real.
That makes it the right word.
Appreciate this. You guys are cool.
But I mean, I feel like, man, it's something I think about a lot. Honestly, it's just like looking at the world objectively and seeing our activities that we choose to do are we choosing to do them because we want to do them, or it's just ingrained in us to do them? And I feel like all forms of media, all forms of your environment condition you to some extent to become a person, whether that's the person you want to be or the person you're intending to be or not. You're being conditioned every second of the day when you're exposing yourself to anything, whether that's conversations with people, you know, the environment around you when you walk outside, your work, all kinds of things that you expose yourself to. And being able to constantly be aware of what you're doing is hard, man. It's so hard to just be in the moment and focused on, this is what I'm doing right now, rather than just edging away and not even realizing what you're doing. You're just doing it because it's just feels comfortable, feels right.
Famous college football coach Nick Saban, one of his biggest quotes, phrases: "Be where your feet are." If you just be where your feet are physically, feel how your feet feel, where you're standing, take a look around, and be intentional with that in that moment, and do that step by step by step. If you're intentional about having a good day or having a good second, that'll lead to having. You do that long enough, you'll have a good minute. Do that long enough, you'll have a good hour. Do that long enough, good day, good week, good month, good year, good life.
You know what you need to do, John? You need to be a meditation guru or something like that. But seriously though, meditation that's exactly what you just described is meditation. Because I did guided meditation for a little while. I would find a YouTube video where they guide you through a meditation for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And that's exactly what they say. Start with sitting, feel your feet. And obviously first you close your eyes and then you just feel your body. Try to feel the different parts of your body. And if you can get to the point of focusing, which in and of itself is very hard because you have to shut off your mind and you always have thoughts running through your head. But once you're able to shut that off, for me, it lasts maybe 20 seconds, 30 seconds at a time. I can't really make it go longer than that. In that 30 seconds, if you actually try to feel different parts of your body, you can feel your fingers. You can actually discern the difference of how your finger feels compared to the rest of your body. You don't have to move it. You just can shift your focus to that part of your body.
Have you smoked weed before?
Oh, many times.
Do you remember the very first time you smoked weed?
I do remember, but I don't remember exactly how I felt when I first smoked weed.
There's one thing that you will for sure remember. You remember the hairs standing up on your skin?
Yeah, I do remember that. I don't know if that's because I was scared or if that's because that was the weed.
No, yeah, that was definitely just the weed and you just feeling your body.
Yeah.
That you had no other thoughts but just how do I feel right now in this moment? And you felt the hair stand up on your body. You're like, oh shit, I'm feeling tingly, and that's kind of how you should be during those times when you just be present. You know, you just can feel. There was someone who actually taught me how to calm myself down during anxiety. So he just said, turn your hands over and feel your hands. Put one hand in your other hand and feel your hands, right? Flip them back over. How do your hands feel? You can say, oh, my hands feel heavy or my hands feel whatever.
Clammy or whatever.
Right? But then you actually go through, it's like, okay, how do my hands truly feel? My hands feel tight, cold. My hands are red. You just go through all of the different emotions. And once you do that, you forget whatever you're anxious about or whatever you're depressed about. You know what I mean? You just are there existing in that moment and you can appreciate it pretty much. So.
Do you meditate?
I suck at meditating. I can't focus that long because I have too much stuff going on.
Yeah, but I mean, it sounds like you have the ability to focus on the present down pat. So
I have the knowledge. I don't have the ability yet. I don't think that we'll ever have the ability to.
I think it goes back to what you said. You have good days and bad days. There's days where you can be present the whole day. There's days where you won't be present at all. You know, you'll be in your head. You'll be thinking a lot.
And you can't. That's human nature. You cannot be mad at that. You can't be upset with it.
Yeah.
That's just how life is. And once you accept that, you'll be perfect.
Yeah, and a certain level of it is good, right? Because you should be anxious for certain situations. There's things you should go into with a certain level of fear. Right. That's smart. You're being smart. You're not being a dumbass. I'm going to go swim with some sharks. I should have a level of anxiety. I shouldn't be like, fuck it, here we go.
Exactly.
That's stupid. You gotta, certain levels of anxiety or anticipation is healthy. It's good. That's why our body's made that way, to kind of release those.
Everything
chemicals.
has a purpose and intention. So
exactly.
Just we have to use it correctly.
Have you ever read The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle?
I've read a passage from it. I haven't read the entire thing.
I think you'd like that book. I was listening to it not too long ago, a few months ago, because I had actually went to a I think I went for one of my visits to check up with the doctor, and we had discussed it, and I had mentioned to him, like, sometimes I do struggle with anxiety, sometimes I don't. It just depends on the day. And he recommended me that book, and the book is very focused on exactly what you talked about not too long ago, which is being able to focus on the present moment, being here, doing this. Like, I want to be in this moment. I don't want to worry about something that is a hypothetical situation that may not even happen. I don't want to worry about a future situation that could go many different ways. I just want to be prepared for any situation that could come of it. But that's in the future. I don't need to worry about that right now. I'm here now. I'm focused on this, whether that's sitting, whether that's reading a book, whether that's working. That book is so powerful about kind of just bringing you back to the moment. Because even while reading the book, he would say things that would make me come back to the moment. Because I would get distracted even reading the book. Like, I would start thinking about other stuff while I'm reading, and then I'd see a passage, or I was using the audiobook, so I'd hear something he said that would draw me right back to the present moment. Like, right back to the present moment. And you feel so much better when you're in the now, when you're not stressed thinking about all kinds of other stuff that could happen, and you're fantasizing or daydreaming. You feel so much better. You feel, I would say, alive at its peak, when you're in the moment like that.
I honestly struggle a lot with it, even in this podcast. Like, we've probably been talking for an hour, which I agree, it doesn't feel like an hour.
It doesn't. It goes along.
Time flies.
Yeah.
But you notice I haven't checked my phone. But because I haven't checked my phone, sometimes my mind is wandering, and I have to tell myself, like, all right, let me stay here and be in the moment, like, focus on this conversation. It's definitely something that we have to practice, and if there are books and stuff out there that can help with that process, hopefully I go down. When people bring up that book, they'll start to bring up my brand, like, oh, you should wear this clothing brand that reminds you of it. But we'll see, hopefully. I mean, it's because our attention span has been drastically cut. We're going to reduce to 10 seconds a TikTok.
Exactly. Me and my cousins were talking about this last weekend. I mean, all Instagram stories, the ones that have the most views and stuff, or the Instagram posts that have the most views, are all like 30 seconds or less. They're not the minute ones. They're not the 50-minute ones, the IGTV ones. No one watches that shit.
Right.
Everyone's watching the TikToks. Everyone's watching the Instagram. And so the more you do that, it goes back to just exposing yourself to stuff. We don't even realize how it's changing us because we're so caught up in it. But it really does have an effect on us. And you have to be able to be aware of that kind of stuff if you want to grow as a person and want to maintain your level of awareness, because conversation is important. People don't even talk no more. People have a quick conversation about some bullshit. Small talk is at its peak right now. Like, motherfuckers love small talk now. No one wants to talk about real shit. Everyone's just small talk, because we're so caught up on what we see on Instagram or what we see on TikTok. And what do we see? We see celebrities. We see current events that most of them are not relevant. Like, most of them are current events about something going on with someone else, or because even the war in Ukraine, we don't talk about that. Like, we don't look at that on our TikTok. We see maybe one TikTok out of 50,000 that are dances and other stuff that comes across our feed, or skits. And so all we talk about is kind of insignificant things that don't really grow us as a person or bring us to...
All Americans want to do is be entertained.
Yeah.
That's it.
I don't know if it's just America anymore, man. I think it's all the Western countries, like UK, everyone kind of has who's a Western theme about them is all focused on that kind of stuff.
And a modernized theme about them.
Yeah.
I would say so. I would agree.
But I mean, you seem like you're not tied into that, and I try to not to be tied into that. Obviously, I'd get distracted.
I work with athletes. I keep up with the NBA every day.
Yeah.
I keep up with rappers every day. But I find myself kind of having like this self consumption. I think that would be a good word. Where I just like focus on myself and the things that have to do with me, which could be a good thing and a bad thing. But someone who, like Mark Cuban, doesn't care about what Lil Durk did. He don't care what Lil Baby doing. You know what I mean? He's worried about drugs.com,
his businesses,
like
Shark Tank, the businesses he's going to be exposed to on there.
Exactly. If it doesn't have to do with those, Luca, if it doesn't have anything to do with those things, he doesn't really care too much about it. I think that's the proper way to do it. Like, if you want to be successful, you have to have a line of being present and then being focused on your business. Not necessarily monetization or a monetary value, but just your business, how you're doing, how your family's doing, how your life is going pretty much.
Yeah, you have to have standards and expectations.
Definitely.
If you don't have that and you go into something blindly, you're going to be driven by things that aren't you. Like, I think, like, if I tried to start a business that it wasn't something that was me, all I would care about was the money. I would be like, how much money can I make from this? How much can I do from this?
That's something that I struggle with in the beginning. I still struggle with it. I go into phases and out of phases. But honestly, the thing that has kept my brand like the most successful, the time where my brand, like, I was called to do this. Mm-hmm. I am religious. God definitely put this on my heart to do it. And when I first started my brand did really well. Like, I had a lot of attention, right? Not that many purchases. My first year, I made revenue $1,000.
Damn.
Right. The next year, I did $10,000. Right. But when my brand like made a big jump, was because I started to incorporate God into my brand. Right. And not so much.
In what way?
The crosses. Just more so just like giving the glory to God, spreading the message of God, because God is the person, is the being, the idea of being present, being present and appreciation. Who are we appreciating for these things? Who are we appreciating for to go outside and to breathe, just to wake up, just to be invited on a podcast, for our friendship, for our relationship, whatever it is. This is all a bigger picture that we don't control, pretty much. And that's the most important thing, is that you realize that you don't truly control your life. Did you make the car that you drive?
No.
Do you but when you press the brakes, you expect the brakes to stop, right? Did you create the brakes?
Nope.
You have to appreciate that someone went out there and created those brakes, that they had to wake up and have a good day and go to work and do a good job. Or if they had a bad day, that they didn't carry that bad day into their job and take it out on your brake.
Yep. That's why the greatest creation in the world is us. I mean, he's given us the power and the ability to do so much with what he's given us. And the beautiful thing is, each one of us have, I think, our own skill set, our own code that makes us us. That is how we can impact the world. Right. The question is, are you going to do it?
Are you going to use it for good or use it for bad?
Are you going to use it at all? Some people have talent, have potential.
And it's wasting away.
Wasted, exactly.
I hate when I see someone who's 7 foot tall.
Yeah,
not in the NBA. If it was me, I'd be in the NBA.
Yep.
I'd be entertaining people.
Yeah, if I was 7 feet tall, if I wasn't in the NBA, I'd be in a circus or something, like all over Instagram. Like, you see my clips everywhere. But yeah, I mean, I've heard that, and we talked about it on the last podcast, me and Darius, was you can have people telling you how much potential you have, how great you can be, all the skills you have, everything that is going for you. But until you believe it and you act on it, it's not going to mean nothing. Like, unless you believe it and you start going out into the world and doing something with it, whether it's to glorify God or glorify yourself, using that skills and potential won't happen. No matter how many people tell you have it. Because I grew up and I would have teachers tell me that. I would have my parents tell me that. Like, Luke, you can, whatever you put your mind to, you'll be good at. But I never found anything that drew my attention enough where I wanted to put my mind to it, where I wanted to, strive to it. Luckily, I think this podcast is kind of where I'm being drawn to, and a lot of my energy is tied to. I get excited when I get to make a clip, I get excited when I get to edit the podcast or look at the footage and kind of review it. It's it makes you feel different. It's something I haven't felt before, and I'm sure you feel that when you get to make a new design or when you get to make a new product. And everything goes back to mindset. I mean, you seem like you have your head on straight, and I think that's why your business has been so successful. Are you planning on being here doing this for a long term, or are you eventually trying to get to a point where you can sell it and move on to another business, or is this something you want to have like for the rest of your life?
Well, my goal for BHDT is to be a fashion house. I want to own other brands.
Like a conglomerate?
Yeah, that's a terrible word. That sounds like Timmy Turner, like the fairies in the black suits. Like, I don't like that word.
The company that owns
LVMH,
Balenciaga and LV and all of them. There's another big company that owns all of them
called LVMH.
No, above them too. It's like this Swedish conglomerate. It's called, like, starts the F or something like that. but they own all these luxury brands.
We could pull it up.
Yeah.
LVMH. Actually, Steve, please do pull up. What brands LVMH owns? His name is Bernard Arnault. Right? Kanye West talked about him. I've known about him for a little while, but they own, it's Louis Vuitton, LV, Moet, and Hennessy. LVMH. So they own everything. So they own Louis Vuitton. I'm not sure if they own Gucci, but they own like Givenchy, Balenciaga, Fendi. They own.
Then they may own the conglomerate I'm thinking of, because a lot of the brands you mentioned are under that same banner. Steve, look up.
There's two though, because there's a company that owns those brands, those like Moet, Hennessy, blah blah blah. And then they
when you're on the desktop, this one right here, just go to the right and it's going to take you to that screen.
And then they own there's another brand that like owns like Supreme, that stuff, but they're still under LVMH. LVMH owns everything. Like Johnson and Johnson.
Maybe we're thinking about the same brand, and maybe I just fucked up the name. But type in what conglomerate owns Balenciaga. Conglomerate is C-O-N. That shit pissed me off. That whole advertisement thing that they did with the little kid and the
honestly,
BDSM.
When I tell you that I'm so
detached,
yeah, like that I focus on myself and my brand. Like I knew that there was something going on.
So Kering is the one I'm thinking of. They're a conglomerate that owns so many brands, like designer brands, luxury brands.
Yeah,
if you go to their website, Steve, you'll see kind of what their umbrella is. But go back to what you were saying. You're just detached from that whole situation.
Yeah, because like I heard about it, and then like I was off Instagram, I believe. Like I just didn't pay attention to it. Yeah. But at the same time, like I tend to separate creativity from the creator. If that makes sense, like from the person. So like R. Kelly is a great musician.
Not a great human though.
I can't speak. I'm not a fan of him as a human, but I'm a fan of him as I'm a fan of his music.
His work,
right?
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Things like that.
Yeah, well, there's certain things to me that, like, you know, are very dear to my heart, and one of the things is the abuse of children. I absolutely despise people who advertise that, are involved in that. I mean, I can go on a rabbit hole for that kind of shit where the government's involved. So many different things. I don't even want to get into that.
You believe in like conspiracy theories?
Absolutely. Not all of them. You know, I don't believe Bigfoot's real, but I believe...
See, I believe Bigfoot's real. And I believe in mermaids.
Tomato. Some people believe in some people don't. You know, I believe in some, and I believe in a lot that have to do with our government. Especially the CIA. They're dirty motherfuckers. If you guys are watching this, fuck y'all. You can come after me if you want. You can catch 10 to your head.
He said that. Not me.
They've been watching.
He said that. If you guys are watching me, to help out my clothing brand.
Even if the cameras weren't on, they're watching. They're watching through our phones. Sure. They're watching through the mic. They're watching. So, yeah, I believe in certain conspiracy theories, and I believe pedophilia is widespread way more than what is talked about. Like, I think recently it got a little bit of a light shined on it, but then it got taken away very quickly because they don't want to talk about that. But they don't want to talk about it, so the light gets shined for one story and then gets pulled away. Yeah. But that is a big problem that stretches, I think, from entertainment industry to the government to local officials to regular people that you see on your street. I recently looked up, when I was going down that rabbit hole of, you know, pedophilia and stuff, I looked up the sex offender registry in Houston. There's a guy that lives on my street that is, you know, he has a record, and if I ever see that motherfucker walking down the street, I'm gonna have to have a conversation with him.
One thing is, not to defend him, definitely not. But like, you know, if you got caught, when did you start having sex? Be honest.
17 or 16, something like that.
Oh, old.
Yeah, 17
so
or 16.
I started having sex really young. If I would have got caught having sex, I would have been like put on like the.
You wouldn't have.
Yeah.
The person, if that was older than you, would have. You wouldn't have. If y'all were both underage, there would be no one to charge a crime with.
No, they still charge the boy.
Really?
Yeah. Every single time.
Underage,
they charge the boy.
The woman and the man?
if the woman if the girl is older than the boy, then maybe they'll charge the girl.
They'll charge her, yeah. I've seen that with like the teacher situations and stuff that happen.
But I'm saying, like, if you're both underaged, like you're 13 and the girl's 16, I'll probably charge. But like, if you're 13 and the girl's 13, they're charging you.
But if it's an accusation, right, of like he sexually assaulted me, or if they're just having consensual
even if it's consensual sex, you're not allowed to make that
decision.
Yeah, you can't consent. You're not at the age of consent. Age of consent is 18.
Camera, no. They're gonna come out. But damn, man. I did not know that. But that's insane.
There's a lot of sex offenders who are caught having sex.
Well, I looked at the year. Like, it was not that long ago, and he's like 60 years old. So
that's crazy.
Yeah, you taking that into consideration. I'll keep that in mind if I ever see someone, and like look at the year of offense.
No. Still stand on your morals.
Yeah,
which is the right morals to have. Like, but I had a professor when I was in college for my 1 year, and he was from like Iran or something like that. You need it?
That lighter from you.
So he was in Iran, and he just would tell me about. So we had it was like a a political class, poli sci. So, and you see that I know a little bit about politics. So I just indulge in all the conversations, and we got on the topic of like how, in his country, that you're allowed to have multiple wives, and that your wife is supposed to be 7 years younger than you.
It's a little alarming. If you're
young, if you're 24 and you want to get married, your wife is underage, severely underage.
Well, if you think about it, in the past, right? If we look at history, the age of like 18 being the age of when you're allowed to get married and stuff is not that old. It's kind of recent when you look at history relatively. Yeah. Like back in the day, in the 15 or 1400s,
like 12, 13,
and stuff, people were getting married. They were marrying kids at 12 years old and stuff like that. But the beauty and the reason why it's important now, and we can't really use that as a defense, is because of the advancements of science and the advancements of understanding. Because now the prefrontal cortex doesn't get fully developed until you're 25.
Right.
So that's when the age became a point of conversation, was because we got so far in understanding how the mind works, how our emotions work, how things work, that people started to realize, okay, you know what, maybe 12 years old is a little too young.
And you heard what Drake said. The men who didn't get pussy in school are the one making the rules. You know what I mean? Like, that's crazy.
That's interesting. I never heard that. Which song is that from? Damn. That's so true, though. I mean, look at how corrupt some of these motherfuckers who are in power are.
And those were the guys who were getting bullied in school, just like police officers, just like cool guys are cool guys forever.
Yeah, you can't lose that.
You're just not cool. You know what I mean? So
it's insane, man. But going back to conspiracy theories, yes, I do indulge in some of them sometimes. Mainly when it comes to government and politics, just because those I believe are very true, and
that shit stresses you out, bro.
What?
That shit stresses you
out all the
time.
Out. Why do you think I'm on this self-improvement journey? Because I see how fucked up our lives are becoming. Because the reason I'm so passionate about the conditioning that I mentioned earlier, about what we're conditioned to watch, what we're conditioned to believe, listen to, is because I firmly believe our government has a strong hand in why we do those certain behaviors. And it started in the 60s and 50s in America, because after the World War II ended, a lot of these Nazi scientists were employed by the CIA. And the CIA came out
deep
in the 50s and 60s. They literally came out. Clinton, I don't know if you remember this or ever watched this. This may have been the 80s. I don't remember when Bill Clinton was president. But Bill Clinton came to a press conference with a folder in his hand. And he said, I want to apologize to the American people. He's like, in this folder, there are studies and research that has been conducted with American citizens, many and most of which has been consensual, but some which has been without their knowledge. And I have to apologize to the American people. So what he admitted to on that platform in front of the world, and you could tell the news reporters, they all gasped. Like, people were silent because they were like, what the fuck did he just say? What he admitted to is that the CIA were conducting tests on American citizens without their knowledge to employ and practice skill of mind control. That was all they were focusing on, all they were practicing, and all they were trying to research was how to mind control someone, how to control them, how to condition their mind to be able to switch it on and off to do their bidding whenever they wanted to.
Yeah.
The project was called MK Ultra, and he came out and admitted it. So that's him saying all Clinton said was a little bit of it was non-consensual, most of it was consensual. We don't know if that's fucking true. It could have been majority was non-consensual, because that's how you really know if you mind control someone, if they don't know you're doing it. So they were torturing people. They were drugging them. They used LSD mainly as the drug of choice to kind of fuck with people's heads. They would starve them, have malnutrition. This is our government's agency doing this on our own people.
Yeah.
And when you learn shit like that, which I learned recently, and I started diving into these rabbit holes recently, you have to change. Something has to change in your mind.
Yeah, definitely.
You got to realize like there's more to this world that I need to be focusing on than just regular shit.
I think that once you start to break those norms, there's a big saying. There's like, those who seek knowledge will gain it.
Open Pandora's box.
Yeah. So once you start to look for information, you're gonna find it. You're gonna find
a lot of it's right in our faces, man. They don't hide it. They don't even care to hide it because they know we're not gonna care. Like most people aren't gonna change anything when they see certain information. They're just gonna keep moving about their lives, keep moving about their regular shit. That's why they get away with this, because they'll put it right in their face. Yeah. But no one cares. Everyone's focused, caught up on their own entertainment or their own comfortable lifestyle that they don't even give a shit about exposing it or addressing it. And scary stuff, man.
Facts. We got way off topic. We didn't even talk about the prison brand.
I know. But we can get back to it for sure, man. I mean, shit, we still got a lot of time, bro. But
definitely do.
It's just interesting to talk about this kind of stuff, man. You seem like someone who's tapped into it and open to it and aware of it, which is also rare quality. Most people don't even want to talk about this kind of stuff because if they feel like they're not knowledgeable about it,
it scares them.
Yeah,
it scares them for sure.
Scares them, or they feel uncomfortable kind of engaging in those conversations just because they feel like they may not have something to bring to the table.
There's a few people. There's a few types of people in this. Of course, the people who are the control group, right? People who are just here, Earth existing. They're just the rats, right? You have people who are trying to escape the rat race.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have security, and the security guards are same people as part of the rat race, right? You have people who are in control of people, right?
The ones conducting the experiment.
They're the ones conducting. You decide who you want to be.
Do you believe in the I don't know if you've heard of the Rothschilds? Do you believe in that conspiracy theory?
Yes.
The bankers who run everything?
Yeah. My Instagram name was like John Rothschild for a while. And everybody was like, nobody understood who it was. Yeah. But I was like, man, I want to be a Rothschild.
Yeah,
I want to be rich.
Life would be easy.
Yeah,
we'd be evil motherfuckers, but shit, life would be easy. Damn. But yeah, going back to the brand, let's go back to that, because I would love, you and I have talked about this briefly, but I would love to have my own business one day. So kind of learning that mindset of what it takes to kind of run one. Is it really that different? Like, did you feel a difference when you started running the business versus before you even opened it? Like, or was it just something kind of, it's not simple, but it felt natural, normal? Like, is it something for anyone can do if they have the right plan, the right procedure?
Yes, 100%. But that's with anything in this world.
Mm-hmm.
We have everything that we need to succeed in anything. The same tools are open to every single person. Some people have steps up on other people. Some people have a hand up. People have a hand out. People have all types of different things, but everything is accessible to every single person.
Mm-hmm.
Just it's a little more treacherous, a little harder to attain.
Mm-hmm.
Running a brand, running a business, of course, at first it's going to be really easy. Then you jump into the business, and there's always those hidden tasks, hidden responsibilities, hidden expenses. And the further you go, the bigger you get, more of those things come in. Mm-hmm. I didn't understand taxes.
Gotta know that, right? I don't even know taxes. But
I used to be so happy to get my tax return. They're giving me money. Now I pay them money. I used to be confused. Why do people pay taxes? I thought some people are happy about taxes. Some people are mad about taxes. What is this? What's the confusion? I'm one of those people who are mad about taxes.
Me too.
But then again, now, when you start to do your research, be happy about taxes. I'm happy to pay my taxes to a certain degree, because with paying your taxes comes these documents, right? Documents that show how much money you made, how much money you profited, how much revenue you did, right? The banks love that information. And then they give you money.
Mm-hmm.
They give you more money than you know to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So if your business is doing very well, go to the bank.
Are you talking about like interest rates? They change your interest rates to
Talk about funding. Talk about business
loans. Yeah,
loans
small
and
business loans and stuff.
lines of credit.
Yeah,
that's what makes you rich.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of money that you have in your pocket, they print money every day.
So you're definitely on board with loans, right? Because there's two schools of thought with that too. People say there's business people who are successful that say don't take loans, like don't get debt. Then you have other business owners who are like, take loans, use that line of credit because it's someone else's money who's helping to fund your project.
People who are already rich don't take loans.
Mm-hmm.
People who are born into wealth don't take loans. People who got rich, like they advocate for it one way or another.
Yeah. Another business is lending money too, because I have an uncle who he made his wealth through real estate, different businesses that he ran. He has an apartment complex, stuff like that generates income. But what he does now is, now that he has so much capital to work with, because he's a multimillionaire now, he loans money to people, but it's interest only loans. So he ends up making so much money in the long term just from loaning money.
That's what my 3% was about today. I loaned somebody money.
You loan money?
Well, I just invested into their company.
Mm-hmm. Is that typically what you do with investments? Because you had mentioned investments earlier, and I wanted to ask you kind of what your...
I invest in all different things. I have a stock portfolio, invest into just different assets, and then with like what I said about LVMH, with owning other brands, this is kind of how I think that the introduction would be. If you come to me and you say like, oh, I have a small clothing brand and I want help with this project, and it's not something that I want to collaborate with you or do something with, I'll invest in your business for a small percentage. You need help to produce these pieces? Yeah. You want to produce them the right way? Yeah. Why not invest in? Especially if I think that your brand can be something. I invest with you a few times. We build this relationship. Same thing with you building a relationship with your banker and having success with your banker. Grow into me partially buying a percentage of your company. That's simple.
So do you typically, do they sell you on equity in the company, or are you...
Interest.
Just interest?
Just interest.
That's an interesting strategy. Yeah, I would hope to get there one day, right? Where you can just be an investor, because that's a business in and of itself. So if you just have so much money, you can invest, and your money makes money for you.
Other people make you money.
Exactly. You just have to find the right one, invest, and your return is going to be massive. But there's also risks involved. So have you ever had an investment with any of the businesses? I mean, you're still young in the game, so I'm sure a lot of these companies are still going. But have you ever had a bad investment or a negative return on a company you've invested in?
Not with anyone else. With myself, yes. I've invested in projects that didn't do so well. But that's the name of the game. You just take those bumps and bruises, and that same thing that I told you earlier about spending money is that gotta go get it back. That's it. How you live and you learn. So it's like you have wins and you have lessons. You don't lose anything. The only time you lose is when you give up.
And with fashion too, man, one thing I noticed, and you could probably speak to this more because I'm sure you keep up with the trends and stuff like that. Fashion nowadays is so fast. Like, trends come and die in like a span of a month and a half, like months. It usually doesn't even last a whole year. Like, for example, the dunks. Panda dunks are going out of style already, and they were huge last summer. Like last summer, I got a pair. Like, I was hyped on them, and by the end of last year, they were done. People were like, "Panda dunks or whatever." Like, but they were huge. The trends just go so fast nowadays.
So many people got rich off of it. The world is ran off of middlemen, right? Every that's how people get rich. Middlemen. I can't think right now because
got you buzzing.
What's the guy who discovered America?
Christopher Columbus.
Christopher Columbus was a middleman. Think about that.
Yeah, the king hired him.
The kings hired him to go explore, and he went and made a fucking mistake. First of all, which is gonna happen. You made a mistake. You landed up somewhere else. And now you go back to your place and you say, "Hey, you got land. Like, there's opportunity here, right?" Same thing with any business in America. There's big businesses, there's consumers, and there's always a middleman who makes money in between. They make the big businesses and they make the people. The people are happy with them. The big businesses are happy with them. They're the true kings and queens of.
Yeah,
that's where true success is.
In fashion, it would be things like GOAT or StockX and stuff, like with sneakers specifically. they get it from Nike and stuff like that, probably at a discounted rate, or they get their percentage.
Who's selling shoes on Go? The middleman. The middleman.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Technically, we are, right? I mean, we sell shoes on Go. I sell shoes on StockX. And so they get the percentage.
They're just bigger middlemen. At the end of the day, they're in the same boat as everyone else.
Yeah.
They just realize that, okay, me work smarter, not harder. Instead of me being the guy out there going store to store, entering raffles, doing whatever, let me create a business that makes it peer-to-peer to sell shoes to Uber.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Taxi companies were banned forever. Now Uber, peer-to-peer. A company that will never make $1, but the middlemen are making all the money.
Yeah, that's interesting because that's kind of how you're doing the branding for your friends or the people or the other businesses you fund or create clothing for. You're technically the middleman, right?
To a degree, yeah.
Yeah, you get them the product that they're looking for, but you're the ones working with the manufacturer, getting the best deal and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
That's neat. I mean, there's always a market for the middleman to come in and innovate it or renovate it.
Yeah.
The problem is finding the problem, you know? Because every successful business, not every, let me stop generalizing.
A solution.
Yeah. I keep saying most businessmen that I keep up with, like the Mark Cubans of the world and stuff, they all mentioned that they found a problem and then they provided the solution.
What's the problem in fashion?
It's a great question. What would you say it is?
There's no problem.
There's no problem.
There's no problem.
The saturated market, pretty much.
Yeah, that's it.
That's why it's so fast, wouldn't you say? Because why are all these trends moving like months? Like in a month, a trend is gone, is dead, now something else is popping.
Because Americans are greedy consumers, so they want as much of a product, they want as much of something as they can, and just force feed it. They burn it up. They use all of the resources that we have. There's no more like appreciation and savoring of something. That's pretty much it. That's the problem with all industry.
So are you targeting those people? Because I would say that's the general population, is the people who are gonna oversaturate a market, buy it all up, and then the next trend comes. Or are you sticking with what you like and what you know your niche market likes, and you're gonna stick with that kind of product long term?
What's the name of my brand?
Being here, doing this.
What's it about?
About being in the moment, being yourself, and focusing on the now.
So if a product sells out, right, and you missed that opportunity, right, or let's say you got that opportunity, right, you appreciate that moment more than if a product was going to restock, had another, you had an opportunity to look into the future and get that product again, right?
That's what I thought your business model was. Exclusivity.
Exactly.
You're trying to remain exclusive. So you don't overstock. You buy enough where you know it's going to sell out. And then your demand goes up because more people want to get it, but you don't have any in stock. So then people are going to be looking for the next drop.
We also talked about intentionality. But that's the wrong intention, right? The right intention is to provide the message of be in the moment. If you want this clothing product, if you want this product right now, get it right now. Don't worry. And if you miss out on it, you didn't want it that bad. It doesn't matter. That's the intention behind it.
Yeah.
That's the good intention behind it. It's not so much about the exclusivity, about the fact of like, I'm trying to make a bunch of money. It's more so about pushing the message of, if you appreciate this product, if you want this product, get it now and appreciate this moment that I got it. Sneakers, got them. You know what I mean? Like, appreciate that moment. And then don't worry if you don't get it. Because you can always get another product. More stuff is going to come out in the future. And just be ready for that moment. Appreciate that moment. You know what I mean? It's not so much about the making the money or the exclusivity. It's more so about just the appreciation of that. You're not allowed to worry about the past. You're not allowed to, or you're not allowed to be stressed about the future. Just say, embrace this moment. If you got the product, cool. If you didn't, fuck it. Something else is going to come out.
So do you plan on having a lot of variability with your product, or are you going to kind of stick to a set styles and things that you've already implemented, or do you plan to like branch out and do different stuff with it?
Make what I want to wear. That's it. That's how you succeed. At the end of the day, I started making this brand so I could go and buy a $600 Balenciaga jacket, right? Now, how I looked at it 3 years into my brand, when I started to spend a little bit more, I want to make the products that I want, right? So if a Balenciaga jacket, like Marni is one of my favorite brands right now. If I go into a Marni store, it's going to cost me $1,200 to buy a jacket, right? I can spend $1,200 and make 25 jackets, 25 hoodies, right? So why not just spend $1,200 making the hoodie with my brand that I want?
Yeah.
And then if I sell them, cool, and I make money, even better. If I don't sell them, I was gonna go to Marni and spend $1,200 on a jacket anyway. So why not spend $1,200 on a jacket that I got to pick with my colors, my fabrics that I truly like?
So did they inspire you? Like these brands, like Marni, for example, or Givenchy. Do you kind of like take certain things from them that you like and incorporate it into your brand?
We're inspired by everyday life. My true inspiration comes from God. Comes from the lessons that He teaches.
Yeah.
The colors, the situations that He puts me in. He said, guy went to heaven for 90 minutes. He saw colors that made him feel a certain type of way. Same thing with me. I can wake up and see this red and blue happy dad, and I want to make something that, like, that happy dad makes me happy.
Did the camera pick that up? Nelk Boys, if you're watching, you know, we drink happy dad, you know, full send. Yeah, it's good stuff.
But like the browns on this chessboard, like that's a very calming color. That's a very relaxing color. That may be a jacket that I want to make. That's my inspiration. I showed you I have a chessboard tattooed on. Oh no! Oh yeah, I think I did see that. Yeah, you have the knight and. No, I have three kings. I'm John Davis III. So everything that I do is very, like, I'm very big in symbolism. So the three kings are, of course, from my dad and my grandfather, and my mom's dad is someone who taught me how to play chess. We played chess when I was like 5 years old. Oh, so it's gonna be a good game today then. Maybe. I don't play chess as often as I would like to. Okay, we might have a good game. I don't know if you saw the last one, but Darius whooped my ass. I looked like a complete amateur when I played him. That's crazy. But Darius also is like, even with his boxing style, it's very unorthodox. It's very, like, seems like he doesn't know what he's doing. Like, he just is so true to himself that, like, it pushes him to success. Yeah. And that's something else that I want to talk about. Who inspired Picasso? God. Who inspired Galileo? I would have to say God too. Who inspired Michael Jordan? God, yeah. Unless he was looking at Pistol Pete or somebody. Who inspired Basquiat? Is he an artist? Yeah, that's the black artist with the crazy hair. Oh, okay. We had like Andy Warhol, but at the same time, like, his art pieces don't look like Andy Warhol. Inspired by God. Like, these guys look into themselves, and their inspiration just comes from society and from themselves, right? I don't really tend to look too much at Marni and say, I'm gonna take inspiration from Marni directly. This is where my sole inspiration. Who inspired Lamborghini? Lamborghini, the first guy, Lamborghini, he was a farmer, right? He made tractors. He went to Ferrari and said, you guys don't actually build good quality cars. Your pieces that you're using are the same pieces that I use in a tractor. They told him, your shit, you can't make a car. He went and made a better car than Ferrari. Just off of that conversation. Just off of that, right? That was his competition. That was his motivation. But his inspiration just came from, I want a better car. Like, I like these cars. I want a better car. I'm not going to look at what they're doing. I'm not going to take what they're doing and do that. I'm going to make something better. My inspiration comes from. Yeah. No one told Galileo what to look at the stars. No one told Picasso what to paint. Just went and made the things that he was inspired by. Yeah. The same thing with all of us. We can be inspired by or motivated by the people around us. Don't want to use the word idols. Literally in the Bible. But we do, though. You're not wrong. Right. People idolize people all the time. And instead of looking at them as idols, we should look at them more so as motivation. Not so much inspiration should come from God and from things that go on in our everyday lives. Yeah. No, that's well said, man. You're absolutely right. And that's interesting that you mentioned his style. I didn't even look at it like that. Like, he doesn't even look like he knows how to box, because he sure knows how to box when he punches me in the face. I mean, shit. Right, me too. But like Kanye West, someone who is very known with, like, main pop culture, mainstream, whatever. But then again, he also goes far left and does his own thing. creates the trends.
Mm-hmm.
The people who create the trends, they just be inspired on everyday life and themselves, and then they're cool.
Mm-hmm.
They're cool because of who they are, and it just tends to create a trend for everyone else. When you just be yourself genuinely and inspired by everyday life, you tend to do things the right way, and it usually works out for you.
Yeah, it's also supreme confidence in themselves and God, you know, in most cases, or many cases, I want to say most, but many cases, because you're going to always have people in your life that say, you shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
That's probably not a good idea. You could probably do something else, like, you know, stick to the safe route. But the people that you just mentioned, they didn't listen to them, and they're like, no, I know this is what I'm going to do. Whether it's going to work or not, this is what I want to do, and I'm going to go for it. I think a lot of people, myself included, will get a thought, and to us it sounds like a great idea, but we'll go ask feedback from others, and others will always give you most of the time bad feedback, you know.
People tell me every day. I was actually talking to an investor. He was kind of like just ripping in, and she was like, well, I'm not doing this like back on your person, your brand, and things that I think you can improve. And I said, one, my dad is my critic. My dad rips into me and tells me my brand isn't gonna succeed, and it's all good. It's all good, like positive it's motivation. It has positive intentions behind it, but the way he goes about it is like hardcore and tough.
Mm-hmm.
And I just look at that stuff, and it's like, your intention can't be to like prove someone wrong. Your intention has to be to actually just get better, to succeed and have confidence in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So I agree that when you have confidence in yourself and that you focus on the intention of things and doing it the right way, you'll have more success.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can't be afraid to fail too.
Cannot be afraid.
Like you said earlier, it's wins and lessons, and you hear that all the time in songs and stuff like that, but people don't really take it to heart. It's like when you fail at something or you fall down, it's a great opportunity to learn. Look back and be like, this is what I did. How can I go about it and do it better? And that's something I started generating recently, more so than probably early on in my life. So the fact that you're 23 and you've already like understood this, like you said earlier, it's not you have it down pat, but you know exactly what it is that you should be doing and how you should be about approaching it. Yeah. And it's such a rare thing, man. I feel like more people need to know that and believe it. Knowing it, hearing it, one thing. Believing it, implementing it, two completely different things.
It's tough, especially as like a young man and coming up today. Like, no one pushes for young men's true success. Everyone's against young men, and I mean, you guys aren't black, but like young black men especially. Mm-hmm. Like, what thing, when you think of something that's valuable, right? Usually what comes into what things are deemed the most valuable? Rare things, right? Mm-hmm. So diamonds, right? Gold, things that are the most value tend to not be as accessible. So what is something that you don't see very often with black men? You don't tend to see young black boys or black men smile and be friendly, right? Mm-hmm. That's one of the most valuable things in the world. When you see a black comedians make everybody laugh. Mm-hmm. White comedians don't make everyone laugh. Black comedians make every single person laugh. They make white people laugh, yellow people, they make everyone laugh, right? That's one of the most valuable things in this world. Going back to just men, right? Old men hate to see young men happy. Mm. They hate to see that. They try to make young men grow up too fast, right? Mm-hmm. And then they don't teach us how to grow up properly. They just push us to grow up really fast, right? Mm-hmm. I think that there's so many young men who try to grow up so fast or try to rebel against growing up so fast that we get lost doing things the right way. Mm-hmm. When you just have that head on your shoulders to say, like, let me grow up the right way, positive way, do things with the right intentions, society will be better. There's so many young men who want to do it the right way, they just don't know how to do it, and there's no one pushing. Mm-hmm. Girls are dating older men, right? They're looking for a man who already has things figured out. They're not trying to build and help someone grow and develop and become a man. Unfortunately, yeah. No. Back in the day, there were women who were, I'm going to be with this guy until he becomes a man, until he can take care of our family. Yeah. That's not happening. Right? older men hate for other, like they look at everyone as competition. This young kid, he doesn't know shit. He's never gonna be shit. Blah 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 blah. Right? Then you look at other young men. We're looking at each other as competition. Mm-hmm. If I want a girl, I have to have more money than you. I have to dress better than you. I have to look better than you. I have to talk better than you. I have to walk better than you. All of the above. It's competition. So you don't even have peer-to-peer, like, people trying to make young men grow better. Mm-hmm. That's tough. Like,
yeah, I think there's negatives and positives to it, though. I think some forms of competition are good
for sure
in the social marketplace too, because when you say you meet two guys who are competitive, right? I would consider myself pretty competitive, but I'm also, I think, more on the opposite side, where I'm able to connect with people and relate to people a little bit more than someone who's strictly competitive, so they won't even consider the other person condition or environment or even try to relate to them at all. They'd strictly look at them like an opponent or an arch nemesis. But competition is good because it tells you, I think, who else is kind of a real person and someone who's going to help build you up. Because sometimes competition builds respect. Like, you compete against someone who's as strong as you or better than you
in the end. But what I'll say is that it goes back to intention. Mm-hmm. So it goes back to you can have a hard battle, a hard fight, and you can look over at the end of the day and have hatred for a person. Mm-hmm. You can have a hard battle, a hard fight, and you can look over and have respect for a person, right? Yeah. We're raised today to look over at the end and have hatred for that person. Mm-hmm. And that goes back to Cain and Abel. Instead of Cain saying, let me focus more on my craft and my gift to God, that I'm going to hurt my brother. So his gift, so that he's not able to give his gift to God, mm-hmm. right? That's how it should be. It should be more so of, let me focus on my craft so I can compete and give a better gift, mm-hmm. than more so, let me
tear someone else down.
Tear someone
mm-hmm.
else down.
Yeah.
So it feels more brothers of, like, me and my peers, right? Me and my peers compete every day in every single thing, but it's also to pick each other up. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, I shot 1,000 shots today. How many shots did you shoot? Like, oh, I made a bunch of pieces of clothing today. How many pieces did you make? All right, bro, well, you got to catch up. Like, you got to make more pieces. Mm-hmm. Not more so, I made this much money with my clothing brand. How much money did you make? Oh, you're not good enough. Your shit sucks. Mm-hmm. It's not that. But in society, that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's more so of like a flexing contest. It's like, I got 10K followers on Instagram. How many followers you got? Mm-hmm. Oh, you can't hang out with me.
Yeah.
Not, let me help you get 10K followers on Instagram. Mm-hmm. Let me show you how to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the world too, though. I mean, you got to, unfortunately, accept reality in some cases. And
no, we should change it.
But I agree. If we could.
Let's change it.
If we could, I'd be with you.
We can.
But the reality is,
that's how it is. That is how it is today.
That is how it is today. And so you got to, I think what makes a strong person is being able to accept reality for how it is, but also not being able to not be affected by it. So, for example, in your example, if someone came to me and was like, you know, how many shots did you put up today? I put up 1,000. Okay. I put up 5,000. You ain't shit. What I think is also missing in today's world is that in your early stages of growing up, which technically really should come from your father and then other men in your life who you look up to in that early stage where you're most influenced, they should be able to build you up and teach you how to be able to take that, to be able to keep going. Because a lot of men, or not even men, just people in general, when they get that pushback, say the 5,000 shots versus 1,000 shots, you ain't shit, you ain't got it. A lot of people will break, or a lot of people will cower when they hear that kind of feedback, and it'll affect them. They'll let it get to them.
Yeah.
I think what's missing is having, you know, a strong father or a strong community to teach you that when someone comes at you like that, don't let it affect you. Because that's true. If we could change the world right now and make it a better place where people pick each other up, that would be the ideal situation. Yeah. But what also needs to happen, facing the reality of that's not the case right now, you got to be able to build up men to be able to take that kind of, in a sense, abuse. I mean, we're tough. I don't really consider it abuse.
No. It is abuse. It's mm-hmm. warrior. What I tell people all the time is that as a man, you have to go through warrior training, mm-hmm. right? So you have to have tough love. You have to be able to do those things because you are a warrior. You do have to learn to defend and protect your family and in that same aspect, mm-hmm. right? You have to go through tough things and tough times where you have to be the tougher guy. But at the same time, there's seasons for everything. Mm-hmm. There's a warrior season, and then there's a loving, caring, nurturing, rebuilding, healthy recovery season, right? A learning season. You don't mm-hmm. learn the same things during recovery that you do with warrior training, right? So I agree that competition is good, but it has to be a balance.
Yeah, and there's two sides. You know, like you gotta have that. I think that one side is important, where you have the community and the men in your life to build you up to be able to take abuse and not break from it. But then you should also try and help others when you get to a level, like say you're not in that community anymore, you're out in the world on your own.
Yeah.
Once you are, if you're brought up that way, or even if you're not brought up that way and you've built it and cultivated yourself, when you have competition with someone else, you should be able to build them up, even if you're doing better than them, like you said. So both sides of the coin are lacking in today's world. Unfortunately, both sides are getting worse. I think that the community in the early stages of a person's life is not getting better in a general sense for most people.
Yeah.
And I think that the jealousy and the hatred and the enviousness that we see in the world today is only getting worse too. I don't think it's getting better.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, but both sides need to improve. And I think even if one side improves, it'll help drastically with young men, especially young men in today's world. I think are getting the worst side of social
world,
experience.
yeah.
I think they're getting the worst form of it since the dawn of time. I think even today, like even back then, if we look centuries ago when we didn't have all the technology we have today and all this stuff, you know, there was more, I think, stronger connections between people to where you had stronger people in general. Yeah. Even though we have all this new stuff, all this technology, I think we're having a weaker generation, weaker people that walk around today's world.
Yeah.
And it comes out in the form of jealousy. It comes out in the form of enviousness, laziness, distraction, comfort. You know, that's what people seek. And so it leads to a world where you don't have either of those, the people that build you up and make you strong to be able to take the trauma that's going to happen in the world. Yeah. And then you have people who are just going to constantly attack the people who are lower than them to elevate themselves even higher and make themselves feel better. Like, you know, I'm the shit. You ain't shit. You're never going to be shit. That makes me feel better about myself. So I'm going to keep telling people that when I see them, you know, coming from my spot or coming at my position. And it's fucking sucks, man. I mean, it's a cold world right now. That's what Future says. It's a cold world we live in.
When I was a little kid, my dad used to tell me, like, what's one thing that you want? Mm-hmm. Like, all kids want a bunch of friends, want girls. Right? All men. Bunch of friends. You want to be cool and you want to have girls. Mm. Girls like the cool guys. Cool guys like girls. So for you, if you want to be cool, right, you have to get the girl. You want to get the girls, you have to be cool. Who's cool? The people older than you, right? Somewhere down that line, the people that we started to look up to changed who they were, the morals and values that they had. So what was deemed as cool, what got the girls, and what the cool, what we deemed as cool and what got the girls changed. That's where society, young men, cool to, I don't know, because my perception of things and what it really is, I can't tell you with everything, but I don't know. I definitely can see that there's a different change. I was raised with my dad, so, and my dad's a little older, my dad's in like 70s. Like my relationship and my knowledge about the world is a little bit different than the rest of the people who are my age.
Yeah, that's important, man. I mean, it's good to see that he instilled a lot of good values in you, though, because I mean that's, I think, why you've been able to be so successful already, and you still have so much more to go. Like we talked about this at the gym. Once you hit a certain point, doesn't mean you stop and get comfortable. That means, all right, I can go even harder now.
Exactly.
Get the next spot, get the next goal, hit the next target. That's what I'm gonna go for. And so, what's your, I would say, within 2023, what are you looking to target as far as being here doing this? Oof. And it could be financially, it could be impact, reach, you know, message.
I don't know. I feel like I'm usually very open with the numbers and things that I do. But I don't know. I feel like I got to stop doing that because I feel like when I talk about numbers, for me, it's just like a goal and a target. For other people, it seems like a bit of arrogance. Got to stop talking about so much.
Yeah, and the people you talk about with too is important too, because there's people that hold it down, and then there's people that'll snake you behind your back or talk shit about you when you're not around. And like, and then this motherfucker was saying this and
putting things out there in the universe too. Like you got to be precious with it, the information that you give out there, because there are people who are like preying on your downfall. But I don't know, man. I just want to continue to grow my brand. I want to become more household name, get in more stores.
Have you seen any? I'm curious. Have you seen any like international purchases, like people buying outside of the
I
United
saw
States
that
yet?
very early on.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Like year 2,
Mm-hmm.
something like that. Like, yeah, I saw it for just something that I still have not seen. I haven't seen like a stranger wearing my clothes in person.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've had people like all over the world, like all over the United States, traveling, and they're like, "Oh, I saw someone wearing your shirt."
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, "Where?" Like, a DC. I've never been to Washington DC.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy, but I've never just seen like a stranger wearing my clothes.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, I'll see that this year.
Have you only been in Texas and Cali, or have you been to other places too?
No, I've been all over the. I've probably hit over to California. I've been to Arizona, Texas, Nevada.
Mm-hmm. Have you done Vegas like as an adult after you're
No.
21? I haven't either, man. I'm
Let's
excited.
go.
Yeah.
Let's go.
We're gonna go. So Steve's older brother is actually getting married in September, and his bachelor party is gonna be in Vegas. So that'll be the first time we do Vegas. Like,
I'll meet
as
you guys
adult.
there.
Sounds good,
I'll
man.
meet you guys there.
Sounds good. It'll be a good time, man. I think we're expecting a good turnout, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. But man, I think it's time for us to play some chess, man.
Dude, can I move this?
Yeah, for sure.
How
For
much
sure.
does this weigh?
I think it's 14 ounces.
Ounces?
Yeah.
Can't bring these to the.
Nuh-uh.
You hit too hard.
Nah, not yet. Not yet. I wish.
All right, man. Let's get
Man,
started.
Darius hit me in some 16 ounces, and I felt that shit for a week.
Oh man.
I was talking to him. I was like, I was hoping you were gonna say those were like 10 ounces, so I could feel good about myself. But...
No, it doesn't. It doesn't make a big difference. But,
Yeah.
I'll get it started. Right.
All right. So Steve, let me know when that remote's on, and then when it's connected, and then we can get started. And then you just let us know when we're good to go.
Good.
All right, go for it. Interesting start. Yeah, not yet.
That's awesome. What part of Michigan?
Detroit, I think. Yeah. All right, hold on. We gotta focus on this game. I gotta get my dub back. I can't have 2 weeks in a row on my own show where I get my ass kicked.
Go for it, Steve. You can talk, man. Okay, I'm the guest.
Interesting strategy. It's good? We're good to go? Okay.
You look nervous, man.
I am nervous. You don't want to do that. Let's see.
I gotta lean in here. I want to be close.
Yeah, that mic is
I want to be up close and
weird.
personal.
to watch your demise. Want to talk about getting reckless? Let's get reckless.
Appreciate it.
Goku. Wait, I want you to watch me destroy you, so you can leave him there. We'll fix him later. Don't worry about him. All right. Watch closely.
Very safe, comfortable. You.
Yes, sir. Where are you gonna go? Yes, sir. Good game, man. I've been practicing a lot. I got my ass kicked last week, so I had to, turn it up a little bit. I was like, I can't get beat twice in a row. But that was an interesting strategy. I wanted to sacrifice my rook though. Once I saw you move that bishop there, it was a good move. I like going for those rooks too. But that setup, go for it always. Trust me, because if you get that bishop there, he protects the queen whenever she attacks the king, and if he can't kill her. He can't move.
So have you been practicing like openings or?
I use that open all the time. That's my go-to open. If I have an opening to set up my queen and bishop for that attack, I'm gonna do it every single time. But lately, because I use chess.com, so people have been privy to that a lot more. Yeah. So what I do now is I kind of just set up my pieces at the beginning rather than set up any attacks right away. Yeah. And that helps protect your board too, at least for me. Like I take my bishop out, both of them, maybe take my queen out, and I just kind of keep the king and the rook back here. That's it. Yeah. And then all my pieces are open. So if you move, I'll have something I can attack you with usually. So that's kind of how I go for it, but I love that attack, and I'm glad you did not see it, sir. Yeah.
There you go, man.
Viewers, I'm not that bad, all right? I promise.
He's pretty good. He's pretty good. Okay, but I got to practice a little bit more. I got to get back in my bag.
Get on chess.com account. We can play. You can send me a challenge anytime you want to lose, and we'll handle business.
It sounds good, man.
I appreciate you for joining, man. It was good to have you on the show, and I feel like I learned a lot about your perspective. So I learned a lot, and I think there's things I can grow from this. So I appreciate you coming on, man.
Definitely talk more about John Davis and the brand. So I'm happy because most podcasts I do, they want to talk about the brand. Yeah. The ideology about the brand, but this was good for me to just talk and just be me pretty.
Yeah, man. I think there's a lot to explore. So you got to share a lot that helped me, and like I learned a lot. So I appreciate your time, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, we good?